Hi, and welcome to Total Health Channel. Thank you for being with us from time to time. Please like and share this important information today. Reflecting or replying to Mark Finley's Seventh-day Adventist Exposed. This is 7 truths that SDAs need to know, and most Christians too. Really, overlooked truths in the Bible. Uh, Coming from a SDA background with lots of years of Bible in elementary school, high school, college, even medical school. But things that aren't touched on, aren't dwelt on. And favorite author Ellen White, who was responsible for Loma Linda Institution. My school was given $40 million to learn why the Seventh-day Adventists live about 7 to 10 years longer, and it's really because of the writings of the founder, Ellen White. She was 100 years ahead of time on tobacco, exactly from 1864 to 1964, when the Surgeon General linked her tobacco being a malignant poison with malignant tumors, okay, of the lung. And but she also said that drugs do not cure disease. They often, in most cases, change the form and location. I struggled to understand that until, again, even more than 100 years ahead of her time, when she said that adverse drug reactions are a leading cause of death today, and cause many problems. I could go into that, but that's not the topic, okay? I just want to say she was advanced, and she saw topics that I'm going to be referring to, but Adventism makes nothing of them today. For example, the first truth, these are, by the way, 7 seals, and there's a contextual link to the seals in Revelation 6 chapter, where John heard thunder. It was one of the 4 beasts saying, "Come and see," but the thunder is linked to God's name. John 12, verse 28, 29, Christ prayed, "Father, glorify your name," and the people standing around thought it thundered. And again, also in Revelation 14, verse 1, 144,000 have the Father's name in the forehead, and in the next verse, there's thunderings. So first seal really is God's name, and problem is in the Bible it was been removed. Wherever you see Lord or God in all capital letters, translators yanked God's name out of the Bible and replaced it with the title Lord. But Lord is not the name of God, and God is not the name of Lord. God had a name. It was called, the name was the Tetragrammaton, 4 letters, Hebrew, and they have a pronunciation, but most Christians are clueless. They think that YHWH, the 4 letters represented in English, represent Yahweh. Well, I got better information than that, really, I think, because Josephus, a contemporary of the apostles, saw the temple furniture being removed in 670 A.D. after the Jerusalem was destroyed. The temple was burned, but they brought out the furniture and so on that had been protected or saved somehow. And the golden crown in which was engraven the sacred name, he said it consists of 4 vowels. 4 vowels. That's different than YHWH. And so, Yahweh has only got 2 vowels. And I'm just saying, I got better information. I have a book, Earthquake and 7 Seals, and that's the first of these 7 seals. Second seal is the red horse. Red horse takes peace from the earth. In Exodus 34, verse 10-11, God said, "Behold, I make a covenant with you, and as the terrible thing I'm going to do with you, I'm going to drive out the Canaanite." That took peace from the earth in their time. It's the covenant, okay? And the covenant is also linked to 7s. I'm seeing all of these seals as having a 7-fold emphasis. I'll give you a perfect example, really, in a minute. The next one is the statutes and judgments. When Christ was asked about the end of the world, he said that Elias or Elijah must come first and restore all things. And we see him coming in Malachi 4, verse 4 and 5. "Remember the law of Moses with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I send you Elijah." Those statutes and judgments have a 7-fold emphasis in Ezekiel 20, verses 11 to 24, where it's statutes, judgments, Sabbath, statutes, judgments, Sabbath. They're linked to Sabbath, and the emphasis 7 times is a mark of end-time truth. It's God's signature. There's a evangelical author Grant Jeffries, who wrote a book, The Signature of God, and the numeric signature of God was 7, and 7 weeks, etc. I mean 7 weeks, 7 days in a week, and the 70 weeks were pointing to the Messiah, or 69, in Daniel 9th chapter, verse 25. So anyway, the covenant is the basis of the marriage. And a marriage took 7 days in Bible times. Genesis 29, verse 27, fulfill Leah's week. But when we think about the fact that there's a wedding feast in Matthew 22, verse 2 and 3, the king makes a marriage for his son. This is God making a marriage for his son Christ. And he sends his servants to bid people to the wedding. And they're inviting people to a wedding feast. Well, the Passover parables all have Passover, the wedding parables all have Passover imagery. And so the feast at Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread in Leviticus 23. And that's maybe considered a horrible wedding feast. Crackers, who wants crackers for a wedding feast? Maybe that's why the invitation is scorned and ridiculed in Matthew 22, until the remnant, it said, get their city burned. Okay, well, because they scorned the invitation. And I can say that that's probably true for these topics. Generally, overall, all denominations are just content. This is our teaching, this is our belief. Adventists have a 28 points of doctrine or so on. Haven't changed anything in 100 years. Well, that's the bad news, because Ellen White says in every age there's a new development of truth, a message of God to the people of that generation. The gospel changes. In Noah's time, the good news was a boat. Okay, the good news for Abraham was some real estate. The good news in Moses' time was freedom from bondage and going back to the promised land. Christ had a different gospel. Okay, it was in my Father's house there are many mansions. He was going to save us from our sins. The spiritual freedom that the Israelites got literally. They got literal freedom from bondage. We can get freedom from spiritual bondage and sin. So, but for us, gospel is different again. Better than any of those, because it's all of them. All of those are included in the end time. Paul said, I would not have you ignorant how our fathers passed through the sea, talking of the Exodus. He said, all those things happened for our example, written at the end of the world. There's going to be another Exodus, okay? That's actually the sixth seal, the hiding place. Where are you going to hide when you can't buy or sell, and they're going to get you? They're going to torture somebody to find you, and you're going to get tortured if you don't convert, okay? That's Rome historically. Roman emperors were the abomination that made desolate people's faith. When people would give up their spiritual belief to give the emperor some little incense, whatever. But Rome has done that too, burned people at the stake, etc. Not good at all. And so where are you going to hide? Okay, hiding place. God foresaw it all. He declared the end from the beginning. He made a covenant with Abraham for his seed to give him that land. Okay, that land over there is God's land. It's not the UN's land to give to the Jews. And the Jews that are in Jerusalem and Israel right now, no interest in their spiritual heritage for 90% of them. And 8% are Orthodox Jews that hate Christ and would spit on his name. So they not a good situation. And God is going to clean house over there. And Paul says in Galatians 3:29, if you are Christ, you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So in the end time, I'm looking forward to another Exodus where I will have an opportunity to get to my land, and we can do that. In fact, Ellen White's last book title, this is a sad situation for leaders who think they know more than Ellen White or don't like what she said. They changed the title of her last book. I happened to go to White Estate in basement of the General Conference building, and I saw a glass case with all of her books, and at the far right was a blue book with gold letters, The Captivity and Restoration of Israel. That book is the title, that's the title of what she gave to her book. I said, what's this? The lady said, oh, that's Prophets and Kings. We just changed the title. Okay. Well, they shouldn't do that. That was her title. She chose it for her book. And it has a meaning that we miss in her book because we're not looking for it, okay? But Jeremiah 30, verse 3 said, and that's the basis of her title. Lo, the days come, saith the Lord, I'll bring again the captivity of my people, Israel and Judah, and cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. Though I make a full end of all other nations, I will not make a full end of you. Well, I want to be in that kingdom, okay? And it's not about America or finding some islands in the South Pacific somewhere to be safe at. All the islands are going to disappear, by the way, in the last plague. I don't want to be there when they would disappear. I want to be in the land of the covenant and with his kingdom. When God took Israel to the land, the promised land, they stopped at Sinai and made a covenant. And Israel said, we'll do it. We'll be your kingdom. But 40 days later, they worshipped a calf. God got a stupid bride at that point. He later said, I'm married to you. He regarded the covenant as a marriage, but they were dumb. And this must not happen for Christ. And I'm seeing how that it doesn't have to happen that way, because if we have a prenuptial agreement, we can have the 7 topics that he wants that have been edited out of Christendom, okay? God doesn't have a name. We don't do the covenant like the Jews did. Statutes and judgments, oh, that's nothing. Even though Ellen White said Christ gave to Moses religious precepts which should govern everyday life. These statutes were explicitly given to guard the 10 Commandments. They were not shadowy types to pass away with the death of Christ. They were to be binding upon men in every age as long as time should last. They actually protected the 10 Commandments. Because if you, for example, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, life for life, burning for burning, stripe for stripe, it's equality. If the black man that had been drugged behind a pickup truck to his death were repaid by the white man who drug him, also drugged behind a pickup till his death, pretty soon racial stuff would be over, I think, in this country. But if we send them to jail and they're out in a couple years, paroled, and by the way, in jail they're getting free recreation, free medical, free education, do what they want, a lot of free time, watch TV. Not good, basically. And we need to get to biblical laws. And while the Pope doesn't like the idea of sacred life is sacred, no death penalty, parole in a few years, people who've raped and murdered are out to do it again, and they do. So the Pope's idea of law and freedom is not so great, and he wants to forgive everybody, and he thinks, well, I won't go there right now, but anyway, a lot of sincere Catholic Christians who live well, but the leadership is going the wrong direction, trying to control the world. UN is the Pope's road to supremacy again, but I'm looking forward to the fact that he won't own the promised land, and we can go there. In the end time, we have to be spiritual Jews, and we will have the freedom to worship on Sabbath, whereas all the rest of the world, it'll be Sunday. Laudato Si, Dies Domini. These are the encyclicals of John Paul and Francis, etc. Pushing Sunday. Okay, so it's coming. It will be. When the New World Order is set up, they will get it. Okay, but until then, I believe we can live well, and looking forward to understanding the topics that I'm alluding to that include the Promised Land and include statutes and judgments and covenant, God's name, and the Sabbaths. By the way, Ellen White again supports the annual Sabbaths when she said that the whole Jewish economy is full of instruction for us. Its impressive ceremonies were designed to teach the people that at the time appointed, one would come to whom the ceremony pointed. Well, that's Passover for the wedding, because the wedding parables have Passover imagery. Like when you go to Luke's wedding parable, 3 times you find imagery like have your loins girded. That's what the Israelites had in Egypt. When they were ready to leave, they had their loins girded. And watch. Watch means be awake. Gregorio is the Greek word. And the Israelites were to eat the Passover lamb and leave nothing till morning. Christ asked his disciples to watch with him. Could you not watch 1 hour? That was the eve of Passover, okay? And the wedding feast at Passover is unleavened bread, but it's not crackers. Christ said beware the leaven of the Pharisees, meaning their teachings, their doctrines. And Adventism, along with every Christian denomination, has edited out, okay, these topics. You don't hear God's name. You don't hear anything about a covenant hardly, except just passing thing. But a covenant is a deal. We've made a deal with God. And if we don't keep our part of the bargain, like when they would tear apart a sacrifice and walk between the pieces of it, they say, may I be torn apart if I don't keep my bargain? God can do that to us if we make a serious covenant, but He will, I believe, protect us if we are covenant-keeping people. And Ellen White said, what God purposed to do for the world through Israel, the chosen nation, He will finally accomplish through His church on earth today, even His covenant-keeping people. And to them will be fulfilled all the covenant promises made by Jehovah to that ancient people. So I believe we need that, and we can do that. If you stop to think about it, all the covenant promises would include that land, and if they'll be fulfilled to us, we can be there. Well, timing is also of the essence, and the fact that the end time begins with an earthquake, megaquake, 2023. This is more information, and you can even get the other book I just showed you from the last page of this one, telling you how. But I would say to be ready, we talk about a lot of stuff, but I'm interested in that next rung on the ladder to be ready for it. If we don't do that, it'll be playing catch up and never make it, because the foolish virgins got there a little late, but they weren't admitted. He said, I don't know you. I want to be ready, waiting, watching, and you need to know when to watch, be awake, and pray, etc. And that book explains how. So go to a website, healthhappinessdestiny.com, and watch a video. You get there's a link there. You can get a video link and the book for cheap, or go to another website. The other one is thebridegroomcomes.wordpress.com. 2 articles there on the earthquake, the coming earthquake. Thebridegroomcomes.wordpress.com. And look forward to seeing you more. God bless you. And it's coming soon. It's coming this year, I believe. So we need to, if we're the King's servants, we need to bid people to a wedding feast. I got the stuff to share, and thank you for your interest. God bless.